Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Wells. Welcome back to Go Ask Your Mothers, the podcast. I have a jam-packed episode for you. There is a big football game this weekend. I have become football obsessed. There's no shame in it. It's 90% because of Taylor Swift. I will admit it. I cannot wait, but I'm going to talk about football, but not in the way you think. Not the play-by-play expected this weekend, but actually going to draw an analogy for working moms. So stay with me and let's talk about this.
Welcome to Go Ask Your Mothers, the podcast where motherhood meets advocacy and culture. I'm Sarah Wells, mom to two, CEO, and champion for working parents. Here to break down the headlines, share viral moments, and deliver the tips every mom needs. Let's get to it.
All right. So what does football have to do with working moms? So there has been just a lot in the media, on the internet, about working moms, women, equity, inclusion. And I'm going to draw an analogy to football because that's very much what I'm looking forward to this weekend. And that is that we need to be on both the offense and the defense here. So if we are only reactive to what others are doing in this space and wait until something happens to us, we will lose. We have to be both proactive and reactive. We have to play both sides. If you only play one side and react to what the other side does, which is what a certain team might do this weekend and lose. Just kidding. Go Chiefs. Anyway, if we only react to one side or to what one group is saying they're doing in the moment and not think ahead of time on what the play might be, we might find ourselves in a losing position. The analogy here is there any concern for working moms on what might happen in terms of these dismantling efforts around equity and inclusion? And I think the answer is we don't know for certain in how this is going to play out in the private sector. Certainly things are going to impact the public sector, but we have to be ready, and it's okay to continue to voice why certain supports like paid leave, lactation accommodations, flexibility are really important to us as working moms, and be talking about that, even if that isn't the topic in the national news on the chopping block at the moment. All of this relates to a sense of thriving and belonging as diverse employees, including working moms in the workplace. And I think we should continue to make the case why these supports and accommodations are important. So the thought I sit here with you today is when it comes to lactation accommodations, when it comes to leave and everything that we want, we can't just wait and be reactive. We should be proactive. Don't wait around until you say, gosh, I really wish that policy hadn't changed. And by policy, I mean federal, or I just mean within your own organization. Keep talking about why these things do matter. Why does the PUMP Act matter? It's been so incredibly important in advancing lactation support across many, many workplaces for millions of moms. Let's keep talking about why these are important and make sure that we're well aware of any trickle-down effect of other policies going on now and how they might impact us. Whew, that's a lot. I hope you like my football analogy. Let's play offense and defense. I think that's always the most strategic way to come about these. I'm going to keep on this topic track for just another minute as I go into my first segment around mother of all headlines. There was a certain news anchor on a certain program this week that talked about, actually, she laughed about the incredibly difficult time that federal workers are having in finding childcare. I live in Washington, D.C. There's federal workers all over the country, but obviously so many of them centered in this area. It is crazy to get childcare here. You're talking like 2 and 3 year wait lists and astronomical thousands of dollars in childcare costs. That doesn't mean they shouldn't find childcare, but I think the fact that there was any kind of person in a position of media laughing about this as if it was a ridiculous prospect that they should have faced any kind of challenge in finding childcare just appalled me. So it should be appalling to you too. I, in my Go Ask Your Mother's book, did a lot of research around childcare because it was one of the most important topics to working moms, and across industries, across sectors. I didn't even talk politics with people. It was a non-political issue. It was a fact of life for most working families in this country that childcare is extremely expensive and hard to find. And moms said, like, whether or not they have a return to office mandate or they always worked in a position that had to be in person. If you're in the healthcare sector, you may never have been remote. There are lots of jobs that were never remote. Childcare was and remains an issue. So I think that we should not be at all joking about this. It's not a joking matter. I think we should really work hard to be empathetic, regardless of politics, and not politicize childcare. Childcare is instrumental to working families. It's good for everyone to be empathetic and solve the childcare crisis in this country. So what employers can do immediately in the private sector, of course, is ask your employees what the childcare situation is, offer flexibility. Again, even if it's in-person work, you can still flex schedules to work around childcare availability in your area. Connect parents within your team for commuting, co-commuting to shared childcare setups. I know some people share actual in-home childcare together or make each other aware of the childcare options. There's a lot employers can do to get involved in this. We should not be leaving parents to fend on further from themselves on this in this really, really difficult topic of finding adequate affordable childcare. So I picked that one as my mother of all headlines this week because it really got under my skin. And I don't want to see this politicized. Both sides of the aisle, and I don't even know why it's a side thing. Childcare, again, is really critical to working families. And like affordable food, affordable childcare should be something that we can all get behind. So to the woman who laughed at this on national news, and let's really try to work together to be more empathetic to these federal workers, but empathetic to all families out there that are struggling to make ends meet on childcare. I always promise you short, to the point, and a lot of serious topics around working mom support with a little bit of fun too. And I'm all about keeping it lighthearted because the world has felt heavy of late. Let's get into segment 2, Mom's Gone Viral. So I just loved watching the Grammys this week. I stayed up, which I shouldn't have done because I have been exhausted all week, but I digress. It was so much fun. Sort of my theme of this week is take your kid to work day in a big way. And I thought this was so fun. So the first person I wanted to talk about was Shakira. Congratulations on your incredible win at the Grammys. I loved that both of her young sons, who were like around the same age as my kids, were there cheering her on. And a big part of her acceptance speech was thanking her kids. So Beyonce had her daughter there as well. And it was just really fun to see all of the kids. I wonder if we looked at Grammys from 10 or 20 years ago, were there kids there with them? I love that it's just become so much more commonplace to bring your child not only to the celebration of your work achievement, but also to credit them for being such an important part of your life. It's that intersection of work and life that I think makes being, who you are and as whatever your job is so lovely, is when you can merge those two things together. So congrats again to Shakira. And there was another person who is bringing their kid to work this week, Pat Mahomes from my beloved Chiefs again. Sorry, all football all the time right now. He is apparently bringing his brand new baby. I think she's 3 weeks old. She's going to be coming to the Super Bowl. And he was so sweet in his interview. He talked about how the other kids have gotten to see him in this role, Super Bowl, champion, and just in his NFL career. And even though she's a few weeks old, wanted her to have a chance to do that too. So how do you think it would feel if your very first football game was the Super Bowl? Pretty darn cool. So awesome to again see so many really cool parents in the public eye involving their kids in their work. And I love that. I think it normalizes it, and it just makes us all feel great and know a little bit more about them behind the scenes. This week's Mama Hacks and Facts is all about finding community. I feel like you need community, and I could talk about community every day of the year. But I would say that right now, we need community now more than ever. I don't know about you, but if you're finding yourself doom scrolling or just overwhelmed by the media, and if you have been impacted by changes in public policy, by tragedies on the East and the West Coast, by really difficult weather in a lot of places right now, any of that, it really can add to the mental health burden as a new mom. And even as a seasoned mom, I mean, I'm really seeking and getting into community more than ever. So, what is community? How do we find it? I want to get into that a little bit. I was so lucky that when I had my first kiddo, Maddie, I found a group called PACE. It was facilitated by social workers, and we met once a week. It was so great. Like, I love the people, I still keep up with them. But one of the things was just really important for me was it was in person. So I got up, got dressed, took a shower, packed up Maddie, went to this group, had great support, and came home and felt like I did something and got out and moved my body and my brain and got fresh air. And it wasn't overwhelming and no one was judging me on how I looked, but it just was really good for me. So if that's the kind of group that's good for you, I would seek that out. I'll tell you in a minute some ways that you might find that. So another thing I wanted to tell you about is I had the opportunity this last week or two to meet someone amazing. Her name is Alli, and she and I connected on LinkedIn and then had an incredible call. She has formed a new app called BeeKyn. I'm going to put the link for this to join the waitlist in the show notes and encourage you to sign up. I actually put my name on the DC list, and when she launches, I think around the summer, I'm hoping to actually do some things here with the DC folks on the list. So sign up, sign up. And she is working to make a technologically forward, really innovative way that moms can connect to each other in their local regions and based around, factors that would make them a good match, if you will. I love this. Congratulations, Alli. I love the effort for community. It's everything. Other tips and tricks and hacks I have for you is this may go without saying, but please look for meetups and communities, especially those online, that are supportive and not judgmental. Oh, Facebook can be the wild, wild west. So if you're in a group and it's not working for you and it's adding to your doom scrolling, out you go. Don't waste your time. And I think social media can be great. And particularly if you're in an area where you can't get somewhere in person, I think having the online connections are great. But I'd also look for other unique mom meetups. One that we had here, maybe you'll have it too, so it would be worth looking into, is just one of our local movie theaters would have once a week or maybe twice a week. Over lunchtime, they would play whatever the current movie was. They would keep the lights half up, and that allowed you to nurse or pump, just attend to your baby, and also see the movie and meet some moms that were coming too. I loved it. Again, it got me out of the house. It was really low pressure because we didn't really even have to talk. We just got to sit next to other moms. And if you wanted to exchange phone numbers, you could. And you didn't have to worry about your baby being loud, but you could be with your baby in a public space, which was just great. I missed doing that. So that was awesome. You can also look at libraries. Anytime you can find things that connect around kids, you're going to find obviously other parents. So I think library meetups or reading times are a great way to do it too. So again, I think I would leave you with, I would totally join the BeeKyn app, and that seems like a great way to make those connections. Look for some of these unique opportunities. You may, through wherever you delivered, be able to connect to a mom's group or sometimes breastfeeding support groups. All of those are great. Leave the toxic groups behind. Don't stick around. You really should prioritize yourself in this. The entire point of having communities so that you feel great and uplifted, and don't stick around anybody that's judging. That wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for being here with me. It really means a lot. I hope I gave you some food for thought on how to be a self-advocate and maybe also how to consume and think about and frame some of the wildness that's going on in the news right now as it relates to working moms. I think it's good to not be in a state of crisis all the time, but I think it's good to be vigilant. And the best way you can advocate is continue to tell your stories and make the point in your local groups, with your employers, with your policymakers, on why any kind of support you receive in the workplace is so valuable to you. I also hope you had a little fun with us. I can't wait to see what happens with football this weekend. And I'll be online probably cheering on or razzing you a little bit if you're from the other side. And again, I just want to emphasize, really, these are kind of really extraordinarily difficult times. And that's not one thing. There's a lot going on right now in a lot of different spaces that I know have impacted you all. Find community, find those people that make you feel good. I gave you some specific ways to do that. I think that we need to lean on the people that we trust and that will support us right now more than ever. Until next week, This is Go Ask Your Mothers.
That's a wrap for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in to Go Ask Your Mothers. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe so you never miss what's next, and share it with a mom who could use a little encouragement. Follow me on Instagram at Sarah Wells Bags for breastfeeding tips and at Go Ask Your Mothers for working mom life and more. Remember, you're doing better than you think, and you're stronger than you know. Until next time, you've got this, and I've got your back.